Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I'm joined by Bryan, the host of The Room Where It Happened, for a game of One Shot. One Shot is a game about revenge narratives. It is the blood-soaked tale of people who have been pushed past the edge, wronged by someone, and given the opportunity to make things right at a bloody cost. It tells the story of the cost of vengeance, the sacrifices and compromises made on the way. It is extremely cool. I'm a big fan of this game. You can find more information about One Shot in the show notes. The Room Where It Happened is an actual play podcast focused on communal world building and having fun. They're currently playing a mashup of Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition and The Sprawl. You can find that at theroomwhereithappened.podbean.com or on Twitter at roomwherepod. Before we dive in, we have some special thank yous to give out to some Patreon backers. Thank you to Shannon Dapper and the ITU Trash Crew for your support. Thank you both so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. If you'd like to consider backing the show on Patreon, you can head over to patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. Backers get access to mini podcasts, bonus materials, and interviews, and Patreon dollars help pay for hosting fees, equipment costs, new games to feature on the show, and convention appearances. And with all that said, let's throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me.
Thanks, future me. This week, my guest is Bryan from The Room Where It Happens. Bryan, thanks so much for coming on Party of One.
No worries. I'm super duper excited.
So real quick, at the top of the show, why don't you take a moment to tell the audience at home about The Room Where It Happens, as well as any other projects you might be working on you want them to know about.
The Room Where It Happens is an actual play podcast based on communal world building and between good friends. I have never once said the stinger for our show correctly, so I'm going to continue that trend. We're basically an actual play podcast. Right now we're playing a heavily modified version of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons in a custom, in kind of like a homebrewed world that is heavily influenced by Boardwalk Empire and Blade Runner. Trust me, I vaguely make it work. It is basically just like me and my friends having a good time, trying to tell as interesting of a story as we can. We just recently started a new arc on our 15th episode and should be pushing forward to some real fun mega corporation, mad science, eldritch horror induced wackiness. So
I dig it. This week we are playing One Shot. It is a role-playing game of sacrifice and vengeance. It is a story about people who are wronged and who are given the opportunity at a cost to right that wrong. With that in mind, why don't you introduce us to your character as we first meet them?
My character is Johnny Bowman. He's a 22-year-old guy who lives in a Appalachian tourist town in Tennessee named Townsend. Not to be confused with the actual town of Townsend. He is kind of just a seasonal worker, high school diploma, never really did any sort of college, exists on the fringes of society of a group of people who are already sort of fringy. And he is recently come into the knowledge that a friend of his who he was very, very close to and considered to be his brother did not die in an accident 2 years ago, but was in fact killed by his actual brother, Ronnie, the deputy sheriff of the town.
And so, let me ask you, where do we find you as you are moments after you are figuring out, or moments after you are getting the news that Lou was killed by Ronnie, and that it was not, that the break-in that was reportedly how Lou died was maybe not as accidental a break-in as you thought?
So, where Johnny is currently, he is sitting on the hood of his truck. It's like an older Nissan little POS truck. Mm-hmm. And he is sitting on it on an overlook over a valley in the mountains. These are like little pull-offs that are pretty typical in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Typically, people go up there to look at the stars or just kind of deal with nature, or drink and stare at things and have existential thoughts. And he is generally in the latter half of all of those. He had just recently met with a guy whose name is Mike. He's on the force, and had sort of succumbed to guilt about the whole deal, because he is the one who helped Johnny's brother cover everything up 2 years ago. And so Johnny's there sitting kind of on an overlook, looking at a valley of real dark trees. It's very late at night. It's probably about like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And looking at kind of like a valley of trees, just sort of sitting on the hood of his truck with like a beer in his hand, trying really hard to process what he's hearing.
Right. I think Mike came to you. Mike didn't just come to you, he sought you out, right? Like, he was not the kind of person to be hanging out.
Yeah, we're not friends. Like, we went to high school. It's not like I happened upon him up here. He kind of asked me up here, because it's fairly private, because, it's just woods and a road behind us, so.
Yeah. And he I think he left you a message and told you to meet up here. And when you met him up here, he was like several cigarettes deep. You saw the burning ashes around his feet.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his uniform, but the shirt was unbuttoned and the tie was untied. And he was sweating a lot. And he's just kind of like, just let everything out in a babble. He said he was called in. They didn't give him a code. They just told him an address to show up. He showed up. There was a body, and Ronnie told him to clean it up. Nobody has the exact details. No, only people there were Ronnie and Lou, and Lou's not around to talk anymore, and Ronnie wasn't exactly eager to tell the story. Mike relays all of this to you as he's like just breaking down. And the last thing he says before he gets on his bike is, look, I'm already, way I figure it, he's probably going to hear about all this, and I'm probably already gone, so, you were always nice, I figured if anybody should know, it's probably you.
Well, I tell you, I don't know what to say. Thank you, I guess. It's a lot to process.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I figured it would be, but that's how I feel, I guess. I don't have a better answer for you.
Yeah, I guess I guess I understand. I don't... Why did you tell... Why now? What after 2 years decide? Why didn't you tell me, like, the day after it happened?
I gotta go, Johnny. I can't.
It's fine, fine.
And he climbs on his bike, and he starts to, like, head down. He starts to, like, bail, basically. But as he does, you watch his bike, and just before it goes out of view, it crosses, like, a black Mustang passes in the other direction, coming towards you, and they kind of slow down and then pass each other. The Mustang pulls up right next to you, right where Mike's motorcycle was. Windows are tinted. Red trim. No engine from what you can hear.
Huh.
Just kind of sitting there.
Huh. So
what do you do?
I guess I'm going to climb up on the... I'm more or less sort of still in shock from the information dump that just happened at me. And I guess I'll typically what I would probably do is if I thought this was somebody else, I would typically like try and hide my beer so I don't get like kicked out of the park. But I think with this, I just don't really care too much. And so I'm just going to climb up onto the hood of my truck and kind of look out and finish this beer and see if I can't finish a thought.
You sit there, and the Mustang sits next to you, and you're both just silent for a very long time. You see the smoke coming out of the back of the Mustang's exhaust pipe. It's running.
I just can't hear it.
Anything.
Well, that's definitely going to be distracting. I'll probably, even with a million thoughts in my head, it's frankly easier to look at this thing that is a curiosity than it is to try and deal with what I'm actually needing to deal with. Eventually,
the window rolls down. A single hand in a silk, gray and white striped, pinstriped jacket, and a red dress shirt underneath. A hand extends and, like, ashes a cigarette, and the window stays down just a crack. Not enough that you can really see inside, other than that hand that kind of, like, peeked out through the corner. And from outside, you just hear, "So you got the news."
I kind of look over at the car with frankly confused. I'm like, even though I am really, really upset about what's happening, there's a kind of there's an instinct in me to not talk about what's going on, because it's my deal. I'm gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Can I help you with anything? Are you lost?
You're welcome, by the way, as I consider closure your first payment.
I'm gonna take a drink of my beer, probably finish it off because it's only like a normal size can, and toss it kind of back over the cab of the truck and into the bed, and look at him and be like, I don't know if I necessarily want to thank you for this. If I don't know what your connection is to this, but it would have been helpful for you to maybe bring this information forward a little earlier. If you have some kind of connection to it, maybe instead of talking to me or scaring some poor deputy into coming and talking to me in the middle of the night, maybe you could have reported it to the authorities or maybe gotten something done.
What do you think I'm doing now, darling? And the hand extends back into the Mustang, just long enough for you to see that flash of an intake of cigarette,
mm-hmm.
and an exhale. Like, you see the cigarette light up, and then a trail of smoke billow out. Time was part of the equation. Quiet was part of the equation. Now comes the last part.
And what's that last part?
Retribution. I hate to be cliche, but you know what they say about revenge.
What do you mean? I don't, and I'm gonna get up off the truck and I'm walk on over to this window and be like, I don't know what you want from this. What I want from this is maybe just he's very flustered. He's red in the face. He's angry, and he doesn't quite know. He keeps stumbling over himself to try and get a word out, but he can't. He keeps cutting his own self off at the end of his sentences because he doesn't quite know. He's processing what's being said, and he on a level knows what's going on, but he don't quite want to admit to himself that's what he, because from basically the moment that he was told, he already was thinking about what he wanted to do, but he hasn't quite admitted to himself that's what he wants to do yet.
And the window, the hand comes back out of the window. Look, there's no one here but the two of us, and I think I've shown you that I can keep a secret. I know what you want to do, and what I'm here to do now is tell you very simply, you can do it.
Well, you say that. I am very capable of... I'm a pretty capable fella. I can... It's not even like it would be hard for me to get at him. I could probably call him on the phone. But... You say that, and if what Mike was telling me is right, and Ronnie already knows what's up, then how am I going to get through, I don't know, the other police?
You'll find it easier than you think.
Well, thank you, Dark Mustang Sage, for solving all my problems for me.
Let me ask you. Say you got through the police. Say you got Ronnie alone. What would you do? And don't be coy with me. Don't play games. Don't... Like I said, it's just the two of us out on this. And the hand gestures to the valley. Out on this long, endless valley in this quiet, nowhere town. So why lie? Why say anything other than exactly what it is you want? So let me ask you, what would you do, knowing what you know now?
And he takes a deep breath, and he looks at the ground, and he thinks for a moment. He goes, what I want to do.
Not what you want to do, what you would do.
All right, what I would do is I would sit his ass down. I would make him look me in the eyes. And I would make him tell me why he took my best friend, someone I considered to be my brother, more so than my actual brother, who took Lou from me. I would make him tell me why, and I would make him look me in the eye and tell me how. And then I would give him so much worse than he gave them.
And the window rolls down all the way. And let me ask you, what's the one unnerving detail about the person inside that sticks with you? What's the one thing that just doesn't feel human?
They have everything seems about right, but they're not proportioned correctly. They're not like overly stretched out. They don't look like an alien or like a, like a Picasso or Jackson Pollock or something like that. But there is an unsymmetrical symmetry to their features. They aren't, like I said, it doesn't look like they're stretched out or squished in or anything, but their face doesn't, you look at it and it is decidedly staring into the uncanny valley, but they're in flesh and bone.
Like somebody played with the dials on the TV, yeah.
Yeah, it's just one step removed from right.
And they look you in the eyes, and they smile, and they say, the cops won't be a problem. You'll get your moment. And in exchange, well, you probably get an idea. And the window rolls back up, and they drive off, dead silent, leaving you alone. Here, in the valley, at night. Empty beer can at your feet. Probably another one, probably 2 or 3 more in the 6-pack that you brought. What do you do?
I guess. I mean, that is a lot. I guess what I'll do is I need to. It's a lot. It's a significant amount to process all in one time, and I'm going to sit here, finish the 6-pack, and reflect on the weirdness that is this evening.
When you crack open when you open the mini cooler in which the 6-pack is being held, tell me about the gun that you find that wasn't there before.
The gun that I find there is it's unnerving, not because there's a gun. Well, I mean, because there's a gun in my cooler that wasn't there before, but it's not just any gun. It is one that I already own. It is mine that I know for a fact is at home in a drawer. It's like a Glock 19. It's nothing terribly interesting about it. It's basic black gun. But I had bought it just after graduation because folks had gotten more and more aggressive with me out and about in the world during high school. And I mean, it all kind of petered out after that, really, as things tend to do. But I'd bought it as more or less a safety measure to make myself feel slightly more comfortable. And I frankly ain't used it in about a year because I ain't even been to the range with it. And problem is now it's here, and I can tell from looking at it that it's been cleaned and oiled and looks good to go.
It looks better than it did when you bought it. Like this, it looks brand new, almost newer than when you bought it. It is shining and black. You see yourself reflected in it. And you see yourself smiling in the reflection.
I do. It's weirdly gratifying and it's submitting to the ideas that I was already having. So there was a heady mix of processing and then the old wound of grief from Lou's death opening back up. And then, obviously anger. And looking at it, then look at myself in the reflection, I can feel that submitting into a goal, to what I think by the end of this evening, what I'm going to be doing.
Where do we cut to? What happens next?
I think what we cut to next is Johnny coming back to his house. He lives in like a trailer, but not like a ratty garbage trailer. It ain't like a trailer park boys style trailer. It's a nice trailer. It's just a house, really. It's just a big long rectangular house. And inside, he had stopped to get a couple of things. He was getting, because he doesn't 100% know what tonight is going to be. And so in his head, he feels like he's got a plan, but he ain't prepared. And so he goes to get because he just feels like this is what he wants to do. Like the Glock is what he wants to kind of do it with, but he doesn't he's not 100% convinced himself yet that that's enough what he needs. So he kind of goes for something that he's more familiar with and something he's been using recently, because he likes to go deer hunting, and so he goes to get like his hunting rifle, which is like a Remington 700. And then as he's walking out, he stops to think, like he sort of stops to take inventory, and
that's when you hear the knocking at the door. Tuesday nights are special to you and Phil, Lou's twin brother. What are they? What tradition? What weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever tradition do you have with Phil?
It ain't nothing terribly fancy. It's not like we're not necessarily the kind of folk who go, especially me, I ain't go out to like bars or nothing like that. It's just, he comes over and we did what we did in high school pretty much, is, Tuesday nights we come over, we have a couple of beers and play like video games and stuff like that.
He's standing at the door with, he's got a growler. He's got a growler of beer, and he's brought over his Nintendo Switch, and he's just kind of standing at the door. You see him, and he's like smiling ear to ear. You can tell he, especially since Lou died, he really values this tradition. He's told you before that this is one of the things that kind of keeps him grounded.
Right. And I've had more or less it's done the same. It's really hard to, it's helped me not just climb into my room, wake up, go to work, come home, drink myself to sleep. Sort of cycle that I had that had started myself into initially. And I kind of wave at him, and kind of glance back through my bedroom where I see the soft case that I carry my rifle in, sitting next to the bed, and then kind of glance at him. I'm like, and I smirk and look at his growler and be like, so I see that you decided to go very, very high class for this evening's game of Mario.
Yeah, I figured we could switch it up a little bit, I get bored of PBR. It's fine, but it's not for me.
All right. Well, I'm sorry I ain't putting on airs for you.
I don't need airs. I just need some games. Let's go. And he pushes past you and starts like going to set things up. What do you do?
I nervously glance back at the door and kind of look at him. Hey, Phil, I don't know if I'm necessarily in the right headspace for hanging out tonight. Got some stuff came up today that's got me feeling, I guess, not like 100%. I don't know if I'm feeling games.
It's Tuesday night. We always play games on Tuesday night.
I know, and it ain't like I forgot. It's just just some sort of like, I don't know, some depressing stuff came up today, and I was gonna it's kind of some things that I need to go needed to deal with. And
can he see the gun?
Which
when he turns back to either one, can he see one of the guns as you're talking?
He could see the rifle in my bedroom, though that wouldn't necessarily be alarming. It's probably the fact that he probably can't he ain't dumb. He's hung out enough that he knows the kind of the outline of a gun, like pressed into the back of your pants and your t-shirt flipped over the top of it.
All right. I'm gonna ask for a roll then, as you kind of try to get him to leave. I'm gonna say without pressing the issue, because you're probably scaring him a little bit. You know, this is a thing that he values. He knows that you value it. And with what you're saying about depressing stuff you need to handle plus a gun, he's...
I realize that doesn't necessarily paint the most leave me alone to my thoughts picture.
So make me a roll. If you can add any of your tags or your outcast expertise, you can add +2 to your roll. If you add any of your tags, you can add +1 to your roll.
I don't know. I don't think pariah or outcast necessarily. Like, he ain't like a criminal, so he ain't used to skulking around and trying to hide a firearm from folks. So I think it's just a straight up roll, which would be a 3.
All right.
Which I believe ain't what needs to be.
Nope, sure isn't. He's getting a little angry about it, and he's like, no, Tuesday nights is the nights that...
Listen, Phil. I understand. I didn't mean to let you down. And I understand that this is important to you. It is important to me. But I've had something very pressing that needs to be attended to this evening before I can't deal with it again. Like, I'm going to lose my opportunity if I don't get this taken care of this evening. And it's just something that I need to do. And I'll get you, like, we could play again, I don't know, like, heck, we can play tomorrow. I don't care. You can come on over. You can leave that in the fridge. I won't touch it.
What could be more important? This is a tradition. What could be more important? Why you got a gun?
I was out in the woods. I went up to the overlook, and, you know, didn't want anyone to, like, I don't know, jump me while I was out there.
You ain't touched that gun in a year.
Well, I'm feeling particularly paranoid tonight. I don't know.
Johnny, what happened?
Ain't nothing new happened.
That's not what you said 2 minutes ago.
I mean, ain't nothing...
You said something happened that you need to deal with tonight. Now I see you brandishing a gun for the first time in a year. Johnny, what did you get into?
What did I get into? I ain't into nothing. I ain't been into anything. Other people... It's other folks getting into stuff. It's other messes... Not even messes. I don't know.
So...
I'm not into anything. I'm not gonna go rob anybody or anything like that. I just need to go have a conversation with somebody, and I don't want it... With a gun. It's one of those conversations that could possibly need a gun. I don't want it to necessarily go that way. But... You know, better safe than sorry, I guess.
Johnny, why is your rifle on the bed?
I forgot to clean it after I went out last weekend and then forgot about it. Then just remembered it a little while ago. So I figured I'd clean it before it gets all, need to get set up after I fired it, so.
You remembered this business that you gotta go talk to somebody about with a gun.
Yeah. I understand that maybe isn't necessarily the best response to that.
Look, yeah. You don't need to tell... Look, I would hope that even if our friendship wasn't enough that you felt like you could tell me what was happening, that maybe... I'm not even going to say it. That maybe...
What?
I'd hoped that you would trust me enough to tell me. But if you don't, you don't. But I'm going to give you a choice, Johnny. If you're going to go out that door with a gun and do whatever business you got to take care of that needs a gun, tell me what it is, your own damn Switch next Tuesday.
Phil, you have been pretty much the only person that I have been able
Then talk to
to
me.
in a long time. But this ain't something that I can talk about. After it, I can give you the details. But for right now, this is a me thing. And it's going to have to stay a me
And he
thing.
gets up, and he walks out, and he gives you one last look as he climbs into his car.
And I keep looking forward. I don't make eye contact with him.
And you see him talking on the phone as he's driving off. Damned if you know who he's talking to.
Probably ain't necessarily cohesive to my plan.
What do you do?
I throw my remote real hard at the wall.
As you do.
And I'm going to get up. I'm going to go get my rifle off the bed. And then I'm going to get my truck. And I think I'm going to go to the gas station because goddamn do I need a fucking cigarette.
Alright, so you're at the gas station. Josie's behind the counter. You know Josie. You like her. She's great.
Yeah. I'm in here quite often because it's near to my house, so.
Yep, it's the place to buy cigarettes.
Right.
So what happens? What's happening in the gas station? You got your cigarettes? Are you just grabbing cigarettes? Or are you going somewhere else? Or anything else you want to do while you're here?
Probably gonna grab cigarettes. I think to myself that I need. There ain't no way that I'm nearly calm enough to accomplish this, so I'll probably buy like a tall boy or something.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like a natty ice or something like that. Comes in like the big 24-ounce cans. And grab one of those. And I can't help looking over my shoulder because kind of browsing the aisles, looking at gum and candy and such. And I noticed them when I pulled in, but I still walked in because I noticed their cruiser outside. Mm-hmm. It's two of the other fellas from the department, from the sheriff's department, just kind of, milling about. They're probably just on patrol, what have you. And I'm just trying my best not to make eye contact.
So, yeah, you see him inside. It's Hank and Malone. Nobody knows Malone's first name. One of those weird details,
He's one of those dudes who definitely strikes you as a cop.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like a cop even when he's dressed in black t-shirts and jeans.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, that guy's a cop. I know he's a cop.
Yeah.
Ain't casual bone in his body.
No, not a single casual bone in his body. Which is partially why people are fine calling him Malone. People just assume that's his only name.
Right. His first name is Officer.
Yes, exactly. Hank, different story. You could swear Hank would be on the cover of a magazine in a better life. But here he is in Townsend smashing a hot dog in his face as Malone debates between different flavors of Mountain Dew. What do you do?
I come up beside Malone because the cooler, like basically one next to it, is the one with all the individual bears in it. And I kind of grab one and I glance at him. I'm like, been a quiet night tonight, Malone? And I imagine he probably knows me since, deputy sheriff's brother and everything. It ain't like there's too many people in town to begin with.
Sure. I'm not legally allowed to talk about it, but he throws a look to the left, he throws a look to the right. But oh man, there were some kids doing donuts out in the elementary school parking lot. We had to bust them because they were being unsafe, but they were the coolest donuts I have ever. I saw one do 720. One donut.
Oh my God.
720.
What are they? What in the hell are they driving in?
I swear it's some kind of Fast and the Furious shit. It's gotta be, right?
them kids souping up all them. Like, I can't tell you how much I love / hate the sound of some tuned up Honda from the mid-90s, just like peeling through my neighborhood.
That's every car these days, isn't it? I mean,
right. I mean, I guess I can't say anything. It ain't like I'm driving some American-made truck, but
yeah, it is what. I mean, at least it's not got a nitrous tank in the back. It doesn't have a nitrous tank in the back, right? Because that is technically illegal.
I'm pretty sure that my truck would just straight up explode if I did anything other than baby it. So
I'll keep an eye out. If I hear a report of an exploding truck, I'll let you know. I'll know it was you, I guess. By the way, your brother's looking for you?
He is?
Yeah. He said he wanted to talk to you.
Huh. Well, he ain't called me or nothing like that. Not that I know of. I mean, I was up on the mountain, so I may have not had service, but
yeah,
I'll try and
we don't get great signal.
Yeah. And I look kind of hard at him, and I glance over his shoulder to his partner there, and then back to him and go, I'll try and catch up with him a little bit later this evening.
Sounds great. All right, I hope you track him down.
Me too.
And give me a roll. This is going to be an opposed roll. I'm going to roll a d6 against you, and I'm going to add 1 to my roll.
Okay.
This is to try and I'm assuming you have the gun on you.
I do, yeah.
This is to get out of here without
like an
having
idiot. I
the
walked
gun.
into a gas station with a gun.
Yeah, this is to get out of the gas station with the gun without Malone starting to ask questions.
All right. I feel like I can apply social outcast here, because it certainly ain't the first time that Johnny has had to lie to a cop's face.
I'll take that.
Yeah. So that's +2.
Yep. No.
Okay.
Wait, maybe
the expertise.
Yes, you are correct. That is +2. I was thinking of a tag. Yes.
Yeah. Right. All right. That's a 6 on my end.
That's a 3 on my end. So yeah, you walk out. Malone doesn't say a word. He smiles at you, grabs his. He goes for the lime wire. Hank doesn't even look up from his chili dog. And they smile at you. And you go on your way. When's the last time you talked to your brother?
We ain't been... Basically, since he graduated, it ain't like we've been on the best terms. It ain't like we don't talk ever. But that certainly took a downturn after Lou died. I initially had thought that was just because he, just a whole lot of stuff wrapped up in that. I kind of have a different perspective on it now, but it's probably been about easily a week and a half, 2 weeks since I last talked to him. I could probably pull up the chat log, and he probably just asked me some inane thing.
Yeah.
To borrow something, or some very crushingly mundane conversation that we had.
Right. Yeah. You exactly that. It was like, hey, I'm not going to try to come up with a mundane conversation. We'll glaze over that. So, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But, so there's probably no reason why he'd be looking for you, right? You can't think of anything.
Right. No, he can't. And it's not like Mike ain't like Mike's gonna rat himself out. Like I doubt that he knows. He maybe just could be something related to to the family.
You're thinking that as you're driving. And that's about when you pass the crashed motorcycle. And a ditch.
Am I the first one on the scene here?
Sure are. Well, make me a roll.
All right. I don't think I got anything to apply to finding a motorcycle on the side of the street. So
make me a roll to look around and see if you can tell that you're not the first person on the scene. Is what I'll say.
Okay. Oh hell.
I'd probably give you your hunter tag for this, so I'll give you
that's
a plus
what
one.
That's what I was thinking. So that would be, with the +1, that would be a 5.
All right. You pull up to the motorcycle. Well, let me ask you. You pull up. You see the motorcycle as you're thinking about Mike. What do you do? Do you drive past it, or do you stop? Do you drive past it and back up, or do you try and leave it alone? What do you do?
I don't think at this point that I would leave something like that alone, because I mean, it's probably obviously, was Mike, when he met me, was he driving like his own bike, or was it like a it was this exact police bike is what I'll say. All right. That's what I was figuring. So ain't like I can leave that lying. So I pull up, I go past it. I don't back up necessarily, but I pull off to the side of the road and turn on my hazards, and then get out, and I walk up to it. I don't rush up to it, because frankly, I can kind of guess what's going on. I'm not necessarily in a hurry to see it.
As you walk up to it, tell me how you know that you're being watched. Because you succeeded at your role.
All right. It's really quiet, because I turned off my truck when I got out of it, and so I can pretty much hear the clicking coming from the truck, and his back is off because it's stalled out when it hit its side, and so I can hear not necessarily like the sound of an engine, but you know when you turn off an engine and it's starting to cool down, it makes those kind of sharp tinking noises as the metal cools down and contracts. I noticed that coming from a little ways away.
Mike's nowhere to be found. It's just the bike. You hear that. You see the crashed motorcycle. What do you do?
I am going to... So there's no Mike, there's no signs of Mike. Like he ain't crawled himself off into the woods or nothing.
Nope. It is just a crashed motorcycle. Real grisly looking scene, but no Mike.
But ain't no Mike. I'm going to wander toward where I heard them sounds coming from, but I ain't going to be like... I'm not going to act like I know exactly where I'm heading. I'm going to try and play it a little bit cool. And I'm going to keep my hands on my hips. I'm not necessarily reaching for my gun, but I'm trying to get my hands about as close to it as I can without putting my hands on it.
Give me a roll. I'm going to make this an opposed roll to get the jump on the two guys in ski masks and jackets, sitting with a sawed-off shotgun and a baseball bat in the two front seats of the black VW Beetle that you come upon when you see the car.
All right, I don't really think I got anything
I would probably
to add to that.
I would probably still give you Hunter for this at least, if not.
I mean, I guess that's fair because it ain't like you stomp right up to a deer when you're tracking it through the woods. So
yeah.
It's nice. I'm liking this.
This is.
I got 7.
Yep, I got a 2. So you get to do tell me what you do to the two guys. You see them in the front seat. They're sitting. They're watching. And you can tell they're watching the motorcycle to see, theoretically, when somebody comes across it.
All right. Which fella has the sawed off? Like passenger seat or
Passenger seat
driver's
has a
seat?
sawed off, definitely.
All right. I'm going to come up to the side. I'm going to take out my gun because they also have guns. So I feel like this is a gun situation now. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to. This got the. They've got the windows up because they didn't want to have necessarily the windows down.
Sure.
And so I'm gonna come up to the side, and it's probably why they couldn't necessarily hear me walking up. And I'm going to kind of aim it at him through the window, and like tap the barrel of the gun to the window, so they know that I've already got the beat on them, but I'm gonna kind of gesture for them to roll it on down.
The one with the shotgun hand cranks the window down, lowers the shotgun below below the door or below the window, takes his hand away from the hand crank, starts to reach for his pocket, doesn't say anything. What do you do? I'm
gonna push forward real quick. Probably because this ain't like I've ever done a stick up before in my entire life. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to push forward way too fast and hit him in the side of the head with the barrel of the gun.
Perfect.
Because I'm not good with the depth, but I'm going to be like, nope, put your hands where I can see them.
Give me an opposed roll for this. I'm going to make this a +2 because they are
actual criminals and I am not.
I'll tell you what the +2 is for when I roll.
All right, fair enough.
That's a 3. I got a 3.
Oh, that is the worst time for me to roll 1. That is not good. That is just a 1. So
one of the +1s was for because they were dangerous because they're armed and ready to fight. You bash him across the face. You pistol whip him. He goes down. Like he hits the glove box. He's blood is pouring out of his ski mask. The other one stumbles out of the car, flashes you his badge. The other +1 was for cops.
Oh, that's just lovely. So I accidentally knocked out the other fella.
Yeah, he's out cold.
All right, and he's still don't got he still just has the baseball bat. He's not like pulled a gun on me.
No, he's got his badge pointing at you, and he's got his baseball bat in his hand.
All right,
and I should specify it is kind of a sawed-off baseball bat where he's shaved it off, so it's got that nice flat tip, easier for clubbing.
Right. Fits a little bit better inside, like down beside you in the car.
Yep.
I guess I'm gonna keep my gun trained. He's still got a ski mask on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna keep my gun trained on him because if he's flashing me a badge, and I mean, obviously, he's already armed, so I don't want him to close that distance on me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, I guess I'm going to ask him, like, where the hell is Mike?
Ain't your business. Ain't your business, just walk away.
This ain't.
Please stop resisting arrest.
I'm the one who's sticking you up. You ain't even got me under arrest.
Please stop resisting arrest.
I'm actually going to push forward at him because I ain't ever been necessarily in this level of control of a situation before. And it is like, I feel powerful because I'm in a powerful position. And so I'm not necessarily thinking at that exact moment. I'm not processing my feelings, but I know that I am, at the very least, lacking this feeling of power because I ain't necessarily been a powerful person for the most part. So, but I'm going to push forward and be like, I ain't resisting nothing, so I'm going to ask you to put your hands up.
Give me a roll. I'm going to give the same +2. I'm going to tell you on a fail, he's going to bum rush you, and
That's fair. That is fair.
You do what you do if he bum rushes you, but on a success, he's going to tell you.
Oh,
on a success, he'll tell you what he knows.
Okay.
It is a 2. That's probably not going to do it.
It sure isn't.
Seeing as he is minimum going to be able to get a 3.
So he rushes you. What do you do?
I most likely shoot him, not really out of like any kind of conscious effort, because I'm not like a terrible shot. Because I've gone to the range and heck, I go hunting on a pretty regular basis. Though this Glock ain't necessarily my rifle, and also I'm not used to shooting in a range. Ain't the same thing as being face down with a person. And I'm gonna squeeze a shot off, but it's not gonna be aimed right, and I probably hit him in the leg, but not intentionally, and I don't even think it's that solid of a shot, but it's maybe enough to slow him down, but he's probably still going momentum alone, because we're only like about a car distance away from each other. Momentum alone is going to probably carry him into me.
Yeah. He crashes into you, and he's bleeding out. You got a few seconds left. You can try to get something out of him, but you know, getting a shot sucks. Like,
That's fair. It's fair.
Definitely gone.
I am probably too freaked out to even think to answer a question or to ask a question. Though I am going to, in confusion and fear and adrenaline, I am going to pull his ski mask off.
It is Officer Roy Matheson. Real piece of shit. Used to be one of the jocks that shoved you around in high school.
Right. One of them fellas who who couldn't make it into, basically couldn't get into college on an athletic scholarship and then became a cop. Decided to keep that power trip going.
Yeah, real piece of shit. He's bleeding out. He kind of he spits blood in your face. You know, that one spiteful gesture as he goes under. The other cop pulls his own mask off because he's trying to breathe because his nose is broken very badly. Just before he loses consciousness, you see that it's Tony Smith. Makes sense. He was another cop. Friends. You know, they were all friends. Real close friends with your brother, the both of them. Probably more so than Malone and Hank were.
So he passed out. All right.
Yeah.
Well, one's dead and one's passed out. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure I had the situation figured out. So I'm gonna hyperventilate for at least 2 or 3 minutes. And then I'm gonna get, while still basically pale as a ghost and shaking like a leaf, I'm going to start getting, as that kind of crash of adrenaline ain't stopping, but the initial fear and realization that I am in fact safe sort of sets in. I'm going to go from being scared to mad at the situation, and also remember why the hell I came over here in the first place. And I'm going to get up, get him off me. I'm going to get up and I'm going to look, because it's like one of them newer Beetles, right? It ain't like an old Beetle. It's like a newer one. I'm going to look in the hatchback, because I'm pretty sure the back should be glass, and because there ain't like a whole lot of room you could stash a person in. So I'm going to look in the hatchback and see what I see there.
Let me ask you. You find in the back, what do you find that tells you that Mike is dead?
I think it's not necessarily as graphic as,
I don't think it's Mike. I'll put it that way.
Right. I think it's, I recognize Mike's helmet. I know that it's his because frankly I saw it just a little bit ago. And I recognize Mike's helmet, and the visor of it is completely smashed in, and there's just a little, the most dramatic spraying of blood across the bottom section of it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's perfect. Yeah, you find that. When you open up the hatchback, you also see into the car. You can see their wallets, phones, all that kind of stuff is like scattered about like the center console and the dashboard at, wherever you stash that stuff in the car.
I think. All right. And Tony's still passed out in the passenger seat, right?
He is he's half. I'll say he's half passed out. He's gurgling, babbling. He can't breathe, so he's like delirious and mostly unconscious. Right. He's not a threat.
That's fair. I'll tell you that's fair. Quickly, I'm going to rush on back to. So they're kind of parked off in the woods where you can't be seen, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I'm gonna quickly trot back to my car, look around, make sure there ain't nobody coming from the gunshot that just went off. But we're terribly near any residential areas, so I'm probably okay. And I'm gonna get into my truck, pull it up and around to where they're parked at, grab my rifle out of the passenger seat and my pack of smokes that I just bought, and I'm going to toss it in the back of the hatchback of this Beetle. And I imagine they probably left the keys in the ignition there, right?
Yeah, cool. Yeah. They were ready to smash the, like, if you had come up and had not noticed them, they were ready to smash you, basically.
So I'm going to go ahead and start the car, and me and Tony are going to go for a ride.
So the two of you head out. As you're going, you start getting, I'll say Tony's phone starts getting texts, and your phone, do you have a phone, right? Yeah, your phone buzzes just once. His phone's lighting up. Your phone buzzes just once. All right,
I guess I'll check my phone first.
It is a number you don't recognize, and it just says, "The police won't be a problem if you don't kill a police officer." Smiley face with horns emoticon.
Well, I'm glad that they are not necessarily the subtle sort. I'm just gonna turn my phone to off of vibrate, like just to completely silent. Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna necessarily get rid of it, and I'm gonna put it back in my pocket, and I'm gonna pick up Tony's phone while driving. I've got the scene is me in a Beetle, bleeding Tony in the passenger seat. I'm driving, texting with one hand, and then holding the steering wheel with the other, but also I've got that Glock in my hand still, so I'm basically texting and driving, but also with a gun.
It's not safe.
I took texting and driving to a whole new level of not safe.
It's got like 37 texts, like, where are you? This isn't a fucking game, Tony. Did you take care of him? A lot of that. And then you scroll all the way back, and it says, like, once he's out of the picture, you scroll back, and it says, like, did you take him out? He can't. He's a threat. It's too serious. He'll stop for Mike. Once you've taken care of Johnny, meet me in the cable building.
All right, and it's coming from Ronnie, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So the last message you get, it says, when you take care of Johnny, meet me. Where does your friend Mal Wilson, the social worker trying to like help with like communications tech in the town, like where are they working? What's their work setup like?
So the way the town's laid out is there ain't much to the town proper, and what there is of it ain't necessarily for consumption by most of the locals. There's kind of like a little, very small, little kind of cluster of buildings that is the historical main street, as they would typically they would point it forward. I mean, the buildings have been there for forever, but the restoration process is fairly new on it, but obviously that's where the sheriff's station is, and that's where like most of the few nice restaurants there are in town. That's where they are, and Mal's organization has rents like a building there. It's it's kind of not exactly on Main Street. It's a little bit off that, but it's in effectively like a strip mall.
Good, very good. No, very, very good. That's exactly where the text says to me.
At the strip mall?
Yeah, because you got and you can kind of suss out like you've got at least you don't maybe not know maybe you don't know the exact reasons, but you've got a pretty solid idea that like it's got to be something digital's got to be there, right? Because like the one thing from hanging out with Mal is that's the one place in town, basically, because they've got like the tech to support it. They've got some routers and range extenders and stuff. Their offices are probably the one place in town to get a really good, thorough, stable internet connection.
Like out in the residential areas where there's like a house every 5-10 minutes, there ain't a whole lot of you ain't getting the best internet connection out there. But toward the center of town where there's actually like population centers and like the bulk of the business goes down at, like that's where there's like an actual communications infrastructure.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
So you're driving. I'm gonna ask you for a roll to at least one roll to get there. Tell me how you're getting to the strip mall, because it is right off a main street. So it is in a part of town where there's not a lot of people in Town's End, but people are gonna be around.
Right. And I've got a bleeding cop in my passenger seat. I think what I do, because he's groggy and he's not 100, like even while we're driving along, he's like kind of vaguely aware of the situation, but he's not like 100%. I think what I do is I do drive through the center of town, because there ain't a whole lot of other ways to get there, especially from the direction that I'm coming. So I think to myself, like, well, I definitely need to cover him up. And initially I try and like get his seat to lean back, but he keeps fighting me too much. Mm-hmm. Like, you're drunk. Like, he's basically like your drunk friend who got way too wasted at the party, and you've got to take him home. Yep. But they don't want to do anything except I assaulted him. So
right,
and so I'm trying to get his seat to lay back so people won't notice him, and he's fighting me on that. And then finally, I just kind of grab while driving, and so I'm probably swerving all over the place, anyways. While I grab that ski mask of his, and I kind of like very poorly put it back on his face, so at least people won't like notice what's going on there.
Right. And I'm gonna ask for a roll. I'm gonna add to this I'm gonna add a consequence to this, because you lost some rolls earlier.
It's fair.
And when you fail a roll, you get a consequence.
It's fair.
I'm gonna call this consequence. This is gonna be a mental consequence of we'll call it distracted, because like you had to do a bunch, like and yeah, I think you described it in a nutshell. You are actively distracted because you have found yourself in a position you are unequipped.
Right. This is not only have I not only do I violently assault two people, I am I'm trying to wrestle with one of them while driving a car.
So roll and subtract 2, and then see if you can add any tags or your expertise.
I don't think I've got any. I don't think I've got a whole lot of. You know what? Actually, you know what?
I don't think so.
Because I think I could the pariah tag here. Like I'm used. Because I'm used to hanging out with folk who probably don't take terribly good care of themselves. So this ain't the first time I've had to wrestle with I've had to wrestle with like a half-conscious friend to get them to do something they ain't necessarily wanting to do.
I'll also give you blue collar.
Okay.
On account of... No, you know what? If you were in your truck,
this ain't my car.
Blue collar. I don't think you get
fair.
it. So yeah, you got roll it. You're taking a -1 total, which means you want to get a 6.
Oh, that's a 3 before the -1, so that's a 2.
Describe the car crash.
I'm trying to wrestle with Tony, and he is. The more I'm fighting with him, the more he keeps moving, the more kind of conscious he is becoming more aware of the situation. So basically, I'm jostling him awake by accident. And he's trying to get me off of him because now he's scared and because he's aware of the situation. And he pushes my face over and into the side of the car, which isn't necessarily what causes the car crash. Is that I am trying to do all of these things while still holding a loaded Glock and driving a car, and I squeeze the trigger and it goes off and it shoots through the windshield and it freaks me out, and I jerk the car to the side. And I think I hit another car. I don't hit them head on. I basically jerk the car to the side. I scrape along their side, but then I overcorrect and I hit because we're getting closer into town. I don't necessarily we're not in the middle of nowhere now. I hit a sign, like one of those. It's a sign for you know what? This is probably a solid touch. It's a sign for like a Baptist church where it's the two red brick pillars and then the wooden sign set into it. I hit one of them pillars.
And it just you hit the pillar, you go through the windshield.
Because Lord knows I wasn't wearing my seatbelt while doing all this dumb shit.
Right. You go through the windshield. You are take a physical consequence of being battered to shit.
Okay, I'm battered to shit.
Battered to shit. Tony's. Well, you don't know. You don't see him. He could still be.
Tony's probably just wherever Tony is. He's having a much worse day than me.
Yeah. But you're about a block and a half from the. You're about a block and a half from the strip mall. But you see some lights. You see the reflection of lights coming from behind you from cop cars coming up behind you on account of reckless driving giant car crash. I'm
going to...
Small enough town that they just saw that.
I mean, I also hit somebody else, so Lord knows they're calling 911. And so I'm going to get up. I think battered to shit and being thrown out of a car, I'm at least mildly concussed, if not very concussed. Yep. I've probably not dislocated something, but I'm probably road rashed. And there's a couple of ribs that are of unknown consequence, and so my kind of the right side of me is in a real bad shape. But fortunately, when you get thrown out of a car, your legs are generally fine. It's the top part of you that you got to be worried about. And so I'm going to get up. I'm going to wince my way over to the car as quickly as I can, because otherwise there's nothing of mine that's left in there. And except for my rifle. And I'm going to try and get the back of the car open, because I'd put it through the hatch, because it's a rifle and a VW Bug's only about as long as a damn rifle is anyways. And and it's jammed. And I realize that I'm not going to be able to get it open in time, so I'm going to break the glass with the back of my Glock, which I somehow still have in my hand after being thrown from a car.
Sure. You found it nearby. Yeah, the glass shatters. I'll say you get the rifle. I'll say give me a roll. I'm gonna take your consequence on it. You're battered to
Makes
shit.
sense.
Your other consequence of being distracted has gone away though, which is
I'm
nice
very focused.
on account of the things that were distracting you went away, like the car. Right. Give me that roll to avoid the police.
Okay.
I'll give you your outcast if you can name someone that you could turn to and help you. Somebody else in town that would offer you help regardless of situation.
Honestly, I think for maximum dramatic purposes and because I'm scared and I've already burned one bridge, and so my initial thought is that I would go to, like, when you're scared, you want something comforting and reassuring. And so my initial thought is, like, to call my grandma, but also I've done a lot of things I don't want to explain to my grandma. And so as I'm scrolling through, luckily, like, Mamaw is just above Mal. Actually, Mal's just above Mamaw. That's how the alphabets work. And so I scroll up and I call Mal, and huffing and limping, I'm gonna be like, Mal, I'm having a bad night. Could you pick me up just around where Meriwether's is? Meriwether's is like a little restaurant. It's closed by now. But it's like one of them almost every restaurant in this town is like a family style diner because we cater exclusively to tourists.
Sure.
And ain't nobody. Yeah,
give me a roll. Flat roll. I'm giving you your extra outcast expertise.
That would be a 4.
Okay. That is a failure. So you get a consequence, and the consequence is social in nature, and it is police presence.
Okay. Are they up on, like, police presence in what way?
So what happens is, you call, you say that, there's silence for a second, and then you hear Ronnie. Ronnie says, just fucking get here. We cut to the building. We cut to Mal's office. Mal's there, furiously typing on a computer. Ronnie's got a gun, pointing it at Mal. Cops have the place surrounded. You got your guns. What do you do?
Now I'm in the office, or I'm approaching this scene from the outside.
You're in the office. You're in the office. The cops have the place surrounded. They could shoot out at any second.
What in the hell is all of this, Ronnie?
I could ask you the same question, Johnny.
Well, I ain't the one. And, like, I'm sitting there, I'm probably already, like, half my face is puffing up. And, like, there's blood trickling from the top of my forehead. I solidly look like middle of the movie Ed Norton from Fight Club. Like, I'm that guy. And I'm just sitting there in, like, a t-shirt that is probably just destroyed at this point. And just, like, I guess I've got my guns with me. So, like, the rifle's propped up against the chair, and I'm holding the gun, but just limply, not really pointing at him. And I'm sitting in one of those, like, it's one of them awful office chairs that's, like, basically 2 squares with the chair bit in between them, like you find in a doctor's office.
Yep.
Because it's probably what this was previous to them moving in. Mm-hmm. And I go, well, I ain't the one who sent his buddies to take out his brother. I ain't the one who sent his buddies to take out one of his other buddies. And I ain't the one who killed my best friend.
Mal slides out the chair. He did what? And Ronnie is like shaking and pointing the gun at him like, Johnny, you don't know what you're talking about.
I do.
And Mal stands up and starts throwing fists. Just slamming, clubbing him. You killed him? I'm going to ask you for a roll to pull back Mal. If you're going to get your vengeance.
Right. I don't need him doing it for me. Also, I don't want him doing that. He's like a decent dude. Yeah. I guess I'll get him off there. I feel like I could probably apply. Well, no, I'm pretty. Well, I guess that's what that canceling out is. So I feel like I could probably apply like blue collar because I'm a dude who does stuff. And so,
Yeah,
so
I'll give that.
Like, I'm beat up, but, I'm still, like, I'm in pretty okay shape. I can probably, and Mal's like an office worker guy, so I'm probably in better shape than him.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. That would be a 5. Because it's -1,
5's
right?
a success.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5's a success. What do you do? What do you say to him? What do you say to him to get him? He's screaming like, I loved him. I loved him, and you killed him, and he's just punching the shit out of him.
I'm going to put him in like a bad chokehold because I can't use part of me. And I'm going to drag him back into his chair and sit him down. And I'm going to be like, Mal, what the hell are you talking about? I'm the one who's supposed to be mad about him killing folk.
You weren't the only person that cared about him. And god damn it, it's about time you knew that. And frankly, if what you're saying is true, is it true? Ronnie bloody nose. God damn it, yeah, it's true, but you don't know then I deserve the right to take his ass out.
Listen. A, you got things to do in general. You ain't from here. You didn't grow up with him. You didn't love him and help him through the worst fucking times of his whole life. And I understand being mad, because I'm mad as hell. Obviously, I've been kind of through a lot of shit tonight, and so I'm gonna need you to calm the fuck down, because I need him to tell, and I look at Ronnie, and I'm gesturing with the pistol. And I need this piece of shit to tell me exactly why the fuck he did it. Went through all this fucking trouble to cover it up.
You want to know the truth?
Yeah, I kinda do.
It's about money. What the fuck else could it be about?
Why? The fuck do you mean? And I push, because Mal's in sort of a roll the chair. Like, I push him out of the way, and I'm more mad now than I was before. Because that seems just unbelievably petty. Like, this money ain't a thing. And I don't give, at this point, I don't really give a shit, because he's got a gun, and I'm surrounded by cops. But I don't push all the way up into his face. But, like, I push Mal out of the way, and kind of, like, step forward into that place, so he's no longer, basically, so, like, he's no longer between us. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean it was about money? How could you possibly take Lou away from me and away from Phil for fucking money? You went through all of this?
Look, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. What the fuck did you want me to... He was blackmailing me. He knew that... Look, there's a lot of shit that you don't know about what goes on in this town. Okay? Yeah. So, yeah. He figured out that maybe I was working with dealers. He figured out that I was taking a cut. Some out-of-town drug money that was coming in. And he tried to blackmail me, and I went to negotiate things got out of hand, and a gun came out. I didn't draw it. I know what you think that I went in there just guns blazing. I went in there to do business. He made it personal. He made it violent. I just finished it because I'm better at killing things than he is.
Right.
And he puts his gun under your jaw, and I'm better at killing things than you are.
And I'm like 100% seeing red at this point. Because I can, like, it is the combination of, like, the most intense fight or flight instinct I've ever had. And running away ain't necessarily an option, nor is a thing that I want at this point. And so that fight mechanic is just screaming in my brain. And with the gun up under my chin, I push up, like, I push up to him this time, like chest to, well, not really chest to chest because there's like a gun between us, but like I lean forward and we're like nose to nose, basically. And the nice thing is, like, from this, the shot of this is basically like us in profile with the gun under my chin. And previously, because he's much more clean cut than I am, I don't necessarily take care of myself, but like from this perspective and from like this hard side on perspective, you can see the really similar facial structures that we have, because we're brothers. We look very, very the same. And you can,
right.
It's almost like I'm looking into like a slightly older, more harried, well-shaven mirror of myself.
Yep.
And I am just like through gritted teeth looking at him, and I go, maybe. Do you think you're the first goddamn dirty cop that we've had in this fucking town? Do you know how many times I bought weed off of cops? Do you think that why didn't you talk to me? Maybe I could have went there and talked to him about that for you. Maybe I could have helped with this situation. Maybe you shouldn't have gone to the damn house of the guy, knowing that you're in a position that he would be scared of, because you're a person who is scary, because you're a guy. And I like push him, and I'm so mad I don't even think about this gun under, because now I'm just having an argument with my brother. And I go and I push him, like basically push him off me, like you do when you get into a fight, like not like a really super hard push, but like what the fuck do you think you were what the fuck were you thinking? Of course that situation went bad.
Yeah. No, you're right. Of course it did. Of course it did. Doesn't mean I wanted it to.
Well, nah, no one wants that fucking And I grab him by the front of the shirt and I pull him back to me. Now I've realized that he's too far away from me and I'm too mad for him to be not all up on me. And I was like, and now you're in a situation where do you know what what the hell? I'm so goddamn mad at you, Ronnie. Do you know?
You hear a click behind you. Mal's got one of your guns.
Oh damn, that's my rifle too.
Points
yeah,
it right at the both. He's got his rifle. You got your rifle pointed at you, and he says, "Johnny, you can debate, and you can talk all night. Pull that goddamn trigger, or I'm gonna pull it right now. You know he doesn't deserve to live." Gun to your jaw. Ronnie says, "You gonna pull that trigger or not?" Cops starting. You see the shadows of the cops starting to line up along the strip mall window.
I'm going.
Time for talking's over. You got 1 moment left. What do you do?
I am going to, because the minute a shot goes off, it's done. One way or the other. And I know Mal. He's been a good dude. He is a guy who is understandably in over his head. And frankly, he is at this moment a bystander because ain't no one seen nothing else. And so what I'm going to do, and I don't want him to have this sort of, I mean, even in my own head, I've already gone further than I ever thought I could. Sure, I had a revenge fantasy at the beginning of this evening, and now I've most likely killed 2 fellas. One for sure, one probably for sure. And so I might as at 3 is not much different from 2, but 1 is significantly more than 0. And so I'm going to turn around. I'm going to look at Ronnie. I'm going to turn back around real quick and look at Ronnie. And I'm going to say, it's because of you. Phil's going to lose 2 brothers this evening. And I'm going to shoot Ronnie in the chest, probably, because, seems dramatically appropriate. And then I'm going to try and jump on top of Mal, because I know that all them fellas with itchy trigger fingers outside are probably gonna start pulling in just a quick second.
And you pull the trigger. Ronnie goes down. You hear him. He's gurgling as you run, and you sort of throw Mal to the side. You just hear, the last thing you hear before you hear gunshots start to fire off is, I wasn't a bad guy. And then we hear, everything goes black. We hear about half a dozen gunshots. We hear Mal start to scream, like, what's happening? We don't hear anything from Johnny. We don't hear anything else from Ronnie. And that's game.
Good. Yeah.
You got your one shot, and the forces got what the forces get. And that's a wrap.
Damn.
Yeah. Bryan, thank you so much for coming on Party of One. This was a blast.
It was harrowing and intense in a good way. I feel exhausted. Yeah. I've been sitting here literally with my neck hurts from how tense I was this whole time.
Yeah. So real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find your work online?
You can find us online. You can find the podcast on iTunes and Google Play and Podbean. We're The Room Where It Happened. Yes, you're going to find a couple of Hamilton things. Just push on through. Look for the D&D podcast. We put new episodes up every Monday morning. And if you want to talk to us on the internets, you can find us on Facebook and Tumblr, but we're most likely going to be found on Instagram and Twitter. We're at RoomwarePod. I am on there most days. Please talk to me on Twitter. I am very bored at work most of the time, and I would love to talk to you.
Excellent. I know that feel. Bryan, thanks so much for coming on Party of One. This was a blast and a half, and I am going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take a future me.
Thanks, Past Me. And thanks again to Bryan for coming on the show. That game was awesome. Be sure to check out The Room Where It Happened at theroomwhereithappened.podbean.com or on Twitter at RoomWherePod. And be sure to check out the show notes for more information about One Shot. It's a really cool game. Then while you're on Twitter, you can follow us at Party of One Pod. Then like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. Then slide over to Discord and follow the show at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. Talk to us about pro wrestling and Party of One and tabletop games, all of the things that people talk about. Then lastly, if you really want to hear more from me on a week-to-week basis, you should check out All My Fantasy Children, the character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast powered by your listener props, hosted by me and my best friend Aaron Catano-Saez. You can find that at allmyfantasychildren.com. If you enjoyed the show, consider giving us a nice iTunes review, a social media shout-out, or a word-of-mouth recommendation. Any of those things help new listeners find the show, which helps us grow and achieve bigger, better, and cooler things. You can also consider backing us on Patreon at patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. Party of One is produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran, featuring the D&D Sluggers. If you'd like to come on to the show, whether you are a game designer, podcaster, professional wrestler, writer, actor, musician, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, or you just love a good role-playing game, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And that's it for me. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.